I guess we start now, and we'll let people keep coming in. So so just for the knowledge of what we've been doing here and where are we today. So this is the seventh episode in the enterprise blockchain infrastructure, not just infrastructure. I would say the whole enterprise blockchain series, and uh, this is the final chapter. We would start a new series after it. This has been since the very beginning when we started with cost of ownership, and then we continue to talk about uh, the architectures. We continue to talk about the design philosophies, do's and don'ts, how to decide, when to decide blockchain is a fit or not, and we covered all different dimensions of enterprise enterprises existence into the blockchain world. I'm calling enterprises existence in the blockchain world because I think we all believe that this technology is going to stay, is going to change a lot. So the businesses would reshape, the workflows would get redesigned, the possibility would be recrafted around every aspect, or around every interest. So just moving forward, we'll talk about a lot of stuff today, which would be primarily focusing towards the infrastructure angle. If you have not been there in the last six episodes, you definitely would want to check out the videos and the recordings are available. I would request if some of folks from my team are there, they can put the links out for you to check out the old videos. And we have already covered a good length in terms of several aspects into the enterprise blockchain. Today's section or episode would again be of course in one way kind of assimilating all that discussion into one, summarizing, finalizing in terms of what you can take away, where you can go, but yet at the same time doing a quick recap of several many aspects. So this would be one episode for all I would say. And one exciting thing is that I would also run you through one of the automation platforms which we have built today, uh, through which you can automate a lot of infrastructure elements. To start with, we would see where the infrastructure sits, and what happens with the blockchain as a service phenomena. Now, I'll first clarify what blockchain as a service is in my opinion, and it may not be very exact, very fitting, but I think you would be able to appreciate based upon your own exposures into the enterprise space. All you folks are vital to how industry is moving. You've been doing good stuff. I'm certain of that. So in my opinion, blockchain as a service is a classification in which we say that there are different type of possibilities of business solutions which can be made available on top of blockchain as a technology framework or as a phenomena. But when you do it, you actually try to automate or build the business workflows and then offer them as a service. Now, why supply chain as a service was not possible in the past? Because it was possible, it was being done as well. Why trade finance? Why lending platforms? Why other fintech platforms? Why not digital education in the past were not possible, or even was possible, was being done in the same way in a SaaS model or as a service model, you can say. But after blockchain, a new thought process came alive. It was about creating consortiums. Now, what differs it from the past version of SaaS solutions around different industry segments versus blockchain? Because blockchain tried creating a meaning out of the SaaS. It means when you create a supply chain as a service platform, earlier it was one centralized platform, everybody signing up on the same, sharing the same business workflow. Now, with blockchain, building supply chain as a service platform, which you can again then say one blockchain as a service platform focused on supply chains, is enabling different players to come together, yet control or separate or segregate, or you can say apply permissions in terms of how do they participate. So It's just an upgraded model to the Web 2.0 SaaS versions of different industry solutions we have seen. All in all, I'm trying to say one, that blockchain as a service means SaaSifying the industry solutions, be it blockchain based supply chain solutions, fintech solutions, where multiple parties can come and onboard, run their own nodes, and then become part of that SaaS solution without building it themselves. So this has been there for very long, since the SaaS, the concept itself, that you don't have to build it, you simply participate or consume and become a benefactor. In blockchain, this has taken a definition of a consortium where you participate, you have your own role, you benefit, of course, not just because somebody has built the solution, but it's a mutual exchange of value. It's circling it forward rather than paying it forward. So that's what in my opinion, blockchain as a services are. But in the end, even if you run your own dApp, build your own dApp, or participate in an existing dApp, which is part of any blockchain as a service solution out there, you are also exposed to how these solutions are run. So for example, if Justin here, or maybe Christian here, or maybe Paul here wants to participate in a supply chain solution, or maybe a trade finance solution like Marco Polo, or I'll not name V.Trade or TradeLens because they're shut down now, but let's say there is one solution and you want to participate there. Now, when you want to do so, there are two ways of onboarding a blockchain as a service platform. One, you simply consume it in the form of a web app or a mobile app, just being on the other side of it, not participating as a primary active player in the consortium. Now, what do I mean with an active player? It means that I would also want to run a node. When I want to run a node, it can then have two definitions to it as well. When I'm running a node and when I'm not running a node, I'm still a participant of the application and I'm utilizing it. When I'm running a node, and then when I'm running a validation node, which means I'm contributing to the ecosystem. I'm running a node, I'm running my application on it, that's it. I'm consuming it, being just an actor around the corner. But when I'm running a validated node, I'm contributing to the ecosystem by validating not just mine, but others' transactions as well. So if there are multiple suppliers, multiple distributors, multiple manufacturers, they are there on the same consortium of a supply chain, which is running upon as a blockchain as a service platform, or be it multiple banks, importers, exporters on a trade finance consortium use case, running upon a blockchain as a service platform. In both the cases, you can pick these roles. When you become a validator, you validate other transactions which are done by other importers, exporters, between the banks, for letter of credit clearance, or maybe in supply chain, some specific provenance, or maybe some inward, outward from a warehouse validation. So you are party to all that, which is a bigger role, which never existed in the legacy SaaS. This only exists in blockchain as a service. But when I'm saying that your participation requires, in these cases, not just running a mobile app or a web app, but a node as well. That is what we call infrastructure. So this is where blockchain as a service and blockchain infrastructure as a service are two different elements. So the provider, which is allowing you to become part of the network, is allowing you to become part of the blockchain as a service platform. But then how they run themselves, the nodes at the background, they may be powered through another blockchain infrastructure as a service provider, or they may be doing it themselves. Whichever is the case, but this is the abstraction between the infrastructure and the blockchain as a service platform. I hope I'm able to create that segregation or abstraction in your mind about how it is and how it is to be seen. So infrastructure is all about running the nodes, be it any type of the node, sitting underneath as a bottom layer or underneath layer for any blockchain as a service solution built for any industry or targeted industry or use case. So now when we have the definition, we would try to segregate the infrastructure in multiple components. So when we say blockchain infrastructure, until this point, we only discussed running a node, but it could be more than that, or it is more than that. Now, the use cases could be any for the infrastructure, like maintaining orderer nodes, like I said, consortium nodes, which are going to be the primary nodes to validate the chain or whatever happens on the chain. Then you got platform. Platform is something, which drives all the infrastructure or maintains all the infrastructure. So this is a different level of use case. And this is where you qualify for blockchain infrastructure as a service platform. And then there are instances. Instances mean, the further layer underneath where you have the machines, or you have the, the core hardware for, infrastructure to run upon. It can be virtual, it can be physical or bare metal. And then you got APIs where, this is a high level component which is built upon the nodes, like what Infura does for EVMs. They provide APIs. They run the nodes underneath, and those nodes are run upon instances, behind them, and then they're offered to you as an API through a platform, maybe for the purpose of maintaining a consensus or something else. And then you got an interface through which interface is an integral part of the platform itself. You can say that these are the components of the infrastructure. Now let's talk about challenges, because we simply see infrastructure from the earlier days as something which is vital to everything. It's like how fuel is to an automobile. It can't run without it, regardless of if you got a V6 under the hood or you got a V8 under the hood. The fuel is necessary. So what is the fuel to blockchain solutions? It is the infrastructure. But what kind of challenges do you really see in the infrastructure? Decentralization missing. Why? Because I'll tell you for a fact that it for already about Bitcoin, how miners are concentrated in different geographies and different ownerships. But I think after proof of stake, people had different ownership and point of views. But I would still tell you that for a fact that about 50% of all the proof of stake nodes across the globe are still running on Amazon Web Services. It's quite daunting to the fact, to those conversations which takes place in panel discussions, or those high tables, or those shiny beautiful conferences every now and then. But reality is quite different. So this is one challenge, that when you deploy infrastructure, you pretty much do not have the awareness. You run all your nodes by yourself under one ownership, one control, or under one data center's ownership, be it as big as Amazon or Google, or maybe even Azure. Then time to market. Even though you figure out the decentralization challenge, you decide that my solution required 10 nodes. I would run 2 on AWS, 2 on Google, 2 on Azure, 2 on DigitalOcean, 2 in my own premises and my own hardwares. But then setting it all up, figuring it all out, making sure it's stable, getting all the checks green, security checks, compliance checks around the infosec and other aspects of it, it takes a lot of time. What you're doing behind it is simply delaying your product from reaching the market. So if I'm building a Hyperledger Fabric-based supply chain solution with 5 consortium partners of mine, I should be very, very, very sensitive to when I can launch it. Sometimes the solutions don't reach in time, and that's one of the biggest reasons of enterprise use case failures. So you got to be very sensitive to how time to market is going to be critical. And of course, it's a challenge, no doubt. It's not building anymore. You got so many developers, but it's running it for the enterprise SLA and setting it up in time. Then, because it takes so much of time, we are somewhere talking about the cost of setup itself and the ownership. When you put in so many expert resources at it, when you put in so many hours of them at it, you're directly causing you cost. But the cost is not just this. There are so many invisible aspects of the cost. For example, if my solution would have been out starting 1st of March, I would have been doing some thousands of transactions by today, which are commercial transactions, which are real transactions, the purpose of the platform for it is built. But if I would spend 2 months just figuring the network setup out, making sure it's stable and all, then I'm losing 2 months of transaction times, commercial transaction time. And commercial transactions are like, we all know, we are enterprise people, right? We know how valuable it is. So the less you would spend on going to the market, the more it would become complicated. The more you would spend, it is still time taking. The cost does not solve the time problem. Specifically for Web3, because it's complex to understand. There is lack of know-how and expertise. So even if you spend a lot of money, you're still not sure. I haven't seen, many enterprises and the experts in those enterprises answer this question very boldly and confidently, saying that on the 13th day of the next month, our network would go live. And I'm certain, and I can guarantee that there are no gaps, there are no errors, there are no challenges which we foresee, because humans are error prone. Until you have a proper automation, you've got a proper process, you got proper expertise coming around in a proper structure, you cannot ensure right output. And specifically, the complexity of scaling for consortium networks. I started talking about from multi-party consortiums, where 5 different consortium owners are coming towards one supply chain consortium solution. 5 different players, their own cloud partnerships, their own infrastructure expertise or teams, their own capability of maintaining it 24/7. But in the end, one weak link and the whole network is suffering. And let alone suffering, how would you scale it up to that extent so fast? One enterprise, we already know how slow enterprises are. They are elephants. I'm sorry, if that offends you, but they are elephants. And if you have to do the same exercise in 5 enterprises, one after another, you can imagine it will take years to launch a proper solution in the market. They have their own processes, and they have to go through the process. They cannot go around the processes or about the process. The next is, standard security optimization. We heard a lot of standards in the past, like SOC 2, ISO, GDPR, but who cares about them in the blockchain world? Who even thinks about it? And even if you start thinking about it, how do you actually do it? InfoSec teams, they keep on focusing on the legacy infrastructures, the way they knew them and the way they know them. But blockchain is pretty new to everybody. They're not sure what to do, how to make it compliance ready, how to make it properly secured. What is the practice here? There is no practice. Everybody has got their own practice, which is the most dangerous part. If you would have to do in your own organization, you got your own Bible. I got my own. But then this is not how it is going to work. It is even dangerous this way. So this is, a few of many challenges I could list. The more I think about it, the more more uncomfortable I feel how it is happening out there. So let's move to one of the biggest challenges, which we always underestimate. I've been putting this slide in since the episode 1, and I could not let the final episode go without it, and it is the cost. Now I would highlight the maintenance cost. The challenges we talked about is all about setting it up, going live, launching it, production, scaling. But one thing which is most crucial to everything is cost, because this is how we've been taught to define ROIs, right? Our formula ends here, starts here at the cost. And if you're not doing the right cost calculations, we're going to mess this up big time. And this has been, we did a complete session on enterprise use case failures. This has been one of the most notorious of the factors among, all of other factors, because of which the consortiums have failed, if they have failed miserably in the past. And you see, maintenance cost is higher than everything else, be it the setup cost, the monitoring cost, the cloud cost, the onboarding cost. It's higher than everything. And the worst of it is that it's consistent. It's gonna pinch you every other time, every other year, every other month. So don't ever underestimate it. Now, what is the solution? What do we really need? We need automation. For what? For blockchain infrastructure. By this point, we already know that blockchain infrastructure is exactly defined in terms of how those nodes and machines upon which the nodes are running and maintained and monitored and managed. So this is blockchain infrastructure. What about the automation? I'll give you an analogy, which I think, I've given it many times, but I still can't resist giving it another time. Today, if I would ask any of you to set up your own data center, buy servers, set up a 24/7 team of, DevOps people, buy power cables, supplies, those UPSs, and then set it up in one car room, put in, cooling and other stuff, you would tell me to go home and teach something else, talk about something else, and probably do something else that I don't know how the world is today. This is 2023. So cloud automation is of, how hardware is to reach us without actually setting up hardware, without actually getting into the daily routine pains, without actually, doing all what is needed to do so. Somebody has taken the pain, they have satisfied that service. Now we simply click and achieve that. So, the benefits are self-explanatory. And of course, when the cloud came in, world has seen the similar level of challenges. Cloud had the benefits, but we have also seen the similar level of adoption challenges with cloud, because it was very hard to accept and realize, and all that technology arrogance within our own teams, it resists us a lot from adopting to these next generation automation solutions. And blockchain infrastructure automation solutions are not new today. They were new in 2018, but not today. Today, they're pretty much there. What they do and what they should be for. It should be about in-depth configuration of protocols. Now, I see a lot of solutions out there who are delivering configurations or automation for protocols. Protocols, when I say, I mean blockchain protocols like Ethereum, Binance, Polkadot, Tron, Avalanche, and all others, Polygon, of course. But then you have to have in-depth configuration in the automation. You cannot simply create a vanilla version of it and then let the people do the rest of the work, because it's, again, telling you the good story, but not with enough heroism into it. So I would say that the right automation should have in-depth configuration, whatever you would require for a production-grade network setup, whatever parameters, values you need to change, fix, put in, configure should be there. And then not just in-depth configuration, because you usually would be doing it one time, or maybe, when scaling, maybe 10 times or 20 times. But then monitoring is a day-to-day job. It must be there for not just node, not just the network's health, but also for, the transactions, the smart contracts, and also system level parameters. So if I'm setting up a network on multiple clouds, on different type of, infrastructure elements or orchestration elements, including Kubernetes, VMs, and other stuff, then I should not only see CPU, RAM, network IO, hard drives, file system, this, that, and all, but I should also be able to see the smart contracts which are running, the transactions which are happening, the block propagation time, the transaction latencies, the processing time, the validation, and several many other parameters, in the monitoring. So this is what I envision, one automation to address those pain points should do, or should at least provide for. Now, what is next is the consortium creation. It's easier said than done. Consortium creation is that I'm going to be a little selective in terms of examples, because the example or how it is to be said or to be done differs from protocol to protocol. But because we're talking about enterprises, I'll be either talking about Polygon Edge, Hyperledger Fabric, or Avalanche subnets. But Hyperledger Fabric is most talked about in the enterprise space, so I'll probably take that as an example. So if you're creating a Hyperledger Fabric consortium with your own organization, maybe being the manufacturer in the ecosystem, or the consortium, the first admin organization where you would run 3 validation nodes or order nodes or consensus nodes, and then 2 smart contract nodes or peer nodes, then when you would want maybe the supplier to onboard it, how do you allow them to do so? You have to do a lot of you have to download a lot of cryptographic artifacts and then somehow share it with them without leaking them. How would you do it? Email, encrypt it through some public GPG keys, and then send it over and all. Fine, but when they receive it, they have to go through the equal amount of pain which you have gone through while setting it up. When I say equal amount of pain, means you set it up initially. Now they are going to join the same network by running, maybe 2 more consensus nodes, order nodes, and 1 or 2 more peers for themselves, because they want to equally participate in the network. Now they have to have a team, they have to have quality team, they have to have spent time enough doing it, and then they're ready and they're joining it. But this automation which I'm talking about should offer it as a one-click solution. Like you invite friends on Facebook. Would you like to invite a friend today on Facebook by sending him a letter with your credentials, your details, and then wait for him to receive it through the mail delivery service, or maybe in weeks time if it is across the globe? Imagine Australia to US, India to US, And then, him opening it up and figuring out how to, what, all the lines means, what to fit in there and all, and then assembling the mobile phone and then giving you a call saying, yeah, I've joined the consortium. I'm a friend now. So this is what automation should provide. It should provide an automated way, one-click solution to invite, and all the technical jargon, it should be embedded into the profile, the template of invite, where, they would simply choose where they would want to run the node. The node should run the smart contract template, the permissioning template, the governance template of the network should be embedded, and it should be automatically provisioned when they set up the nodes. Third is about decide with no compromises. You want your own cloud, you want your own premise. So the initial party may have their own choices, but those choices should not be forced upon you. You should be free to choose which cloud, which infrastructure type you would want to utilize to run the same nodes and become part of the same network which somebody else started on a different infrastructure choice. So you should have your own choices. If as a manufacturer, I'm starting, an automobile consortium with AWS being my partner for the nodes, you would want GCP as yours, and the third party would want Azure as theirs, and fourth party would want DigitalOcean as theirs, fifth would want on-premise. The automation should cater to that. It should not force anybody to any specific type of instances. And specifically in enterprises where they have existing cloud partnerships, this becomes a must for any automation to provide for. Then best-in-class security practices. This is something, you would say it in your dreams if you're working for an enterprise, in an enterprise, or running one yourself. You would say it 10 times even in your dreams, because this is the biggest nightmare of all solutions in the market. How do you ensure these practices? Now, I can have 100 in my mind, you may have 20 in yours, somebody would have 200 in their mind, then there are 3 books written about it, and then there are 5 experts running around to provide for. But all I want is an automation for that. Somebody provisioning it for me automatically. It's very similar to how you see security practices in cloud now. You got tools, you got solutions, you one-click install, deploy, like you set up firewalls, like you set up other policies and rules and private subnets and VPCs, and you define different roles. So you see, you're simply busy setting up policies. Same way the automation should allow you to set your blockchain infrastructure's policies, security policies, and provisioning should be automated. You should not be going into the command line, the consoles, the panels which you don't understand, these screens which you don't want to see ever in your life. Those are to be left to the automation to do. And then it's not about setting it up, it's about ensuring that it runs fine. That's where analytics and monitoring comes in place. So the automation should provide a proper I would say umbrella of tools to analyze and monitor your network 24/7. Now, how do you cut cost on a blockchain network, or as such on any service you're running? You either set up 3 people minimum, 8 hours each, minimum $5,000 a month, but automation should do it in $500. That's what I'm talking about here, and without you losing your sleep or anybody else losing his sleep or her sleep. Self-healing at times, self-recovering from situations at times, giving you alerts and notification at the right time, proactively working round the clock, monitoring your networks, and not just yours, all your consortium partners, so that you don't even have one weak link anywhere in the network. No single node should be a weak link. And in the end, automation does one thing, and we all have seen it, for the eternity of time. Though we are the same people who take a lot of time to adopt, accept it or admit that we need the automation. We always believe, this is, again, no offense to nobody, but, I myself being a technology guy, I have been, first hand to this, that, we always have this arrogance that, our team is there, we have got the experts, let us do it. That's why, I started with saying, would you do the data center setup today just because you got the experts? So we don't do everything just because we know it. We always go for the right ways of doing it. And automation has been the way for so many things for so many years, and it is going to be the way for blockchain infra as well in future. Not just because it does a lot of things very smartly, but it in the end, gives us the very basis of our formula, the ROI. It saves us a lot of cost. Beyond saving, I would say, help us control, predict the costs. And then how it is done, it is by auto optimization, auto scaling, not just upscaling. Scaling is always seen as, increasing something when the demand increases. No, you have to decrease the demand, decrease the cost when the demand decreases as well. So the system should be very, very smart, and this cannot be done manually. If I ask you to turn a Kubernetes clusters size down and up and down and up one time a day, you would not burn anything less than a lot of money on that. But in automation, it would keep doing it in just a few $100s per month cost. Now, the importance, I think we we put a lot of weight behind this already, the importance of infrastructure automation. And I think the more you would do, the more good you would do to your blockchain environments and solutions which you're maintaining. Now, what kind of these kind of providers are these, and what do they really provide you? Now, of course, providers are managing it for you or providing this automation to you. They're focusing on easy setup and utilization. They're focusing on scalability and failovers and auto switchovers. They're focusing upon security measures. They're focusing upon cost effectiveness. They're ensuring that it has to be flexible and should be easily integratable with other systems. And it should be for every use case. It should be use case agnostic. So the abstraction should be really fine in the sense that the blockchain infrastructure automation solution provided by any provider should not link you or limit you or lock you with any specific use case or scenario. It should be pretty open so that you can, it's out of the box solution, and you can, plug and assemble and build on top of it rather than, building into it. That should be the motto of it. How it is better than, the traditional approach, I think we did talk about it in length, so I'll skip it. But I'll tell you, I think it better than me being, the industry people. The time is now. Blockchain is growing at a rapid rate. It would continue to grow. It would have impacts more than we can even think and criticize today or appreciate today. I think on this, I'll give you maybe, one use case, which all of you must have heard already in the industry, the Vodafone's digital asset broker use case. Vodafone is our customer. We've been running, about 40 plus nodes for them for more than 2+ years now without zero downtime. And that digital asset broker use case is going to revolutionize how, IoT devices are to be identified. Of course, the initial application is, the EV charging and other payment solutions, but this would go beyond. And a lot of large enterprise players like, some major automobile companies, some major banks are joining that consortium today. This is one example, in the telecom industry. It's one of the most crazy industry segment, I would say, which is going to be adopting to blockchain. Now, critical aspects of monitoring. We talked about infrastructure automation, but if we go or drill further, what do you really let this automation do for you, or what it actually does for you? So it helps you identify and mitigate suspicious behavior. And this behavior includes, those typical DDoS attacks, the attacks of the old time. Imagine, when one attack or one such attack happens on multiple blockchain RPC nodes, which are serving your application. It helps you, receive real-time alerts for different critical issues. Maybe, transaction latency is increasing. You would want to know. Blocks are not propagating. You would want to know. Some nodes are not syncing. You would want to know. Imagine a scenario where, you're having a consortium between supplier, manufacturer, distributors, and some banks for some trade finance or some supply chain. Now, suppliers, blockchain nodes stopped syncing. Now, the whole purchase orders, the shipment of the goods, and the tracking of it and all, it all depends upon how his application on his side or her side works. The blocks are not syncing, so it's not going to work anymore for him, and he would be seeing different values, different outcomes out of his applications because his application or her application talks to the node they own. And this is how you decentralize blockchain application. You cannot say that, we'll collect all the applications or the instances of the applications to one node. This becomes centralized in some sense. So you also decentralize the application. But in this case, If you don't know if the blocks are not syncing, it's going to be a problem. And then it's about creating, right access and infrastructure control policies. If you have a network where multiple departments are even within one organization or enterprise, you would want to define who can do what kind of nodes are running, who can control what, who's got read-only access to the infrastructure, who can write into the infrastructure. And this may be up to the level of, who's got the permissions to run a node, which type of node, who can be a consensus owner or leader or a participant, or who can be just a read-only developer node where applications can interact. And then, of course, when you're capturing a lot of data, generating real-time alerts, you are consistently analyzing the blockchain network's performance and its stability. So this is, the mother of all, I would say, factors. And then in the end, the monitoring should also ensure security and health of your solution. Security could be multifold. It may include from, malware scans to rootkit scans to, the suspicious attempts of maybe spamming down one of the RPC ports of one node, or maybe injecting wrong data and maybe trying to become an adversary or influence one of the orderer or validator nodes somewhere and play with the consensus or damage it in some way. It could be anything. So these are the, critical aspects which, what we all should monitor in our environments. Then, the monitoring framework, if we talk about it, how does it look? Of course, it looks complex. That's why, I keep consistently, keep talking about automation, because of course it is complex. So on the right side, you see blockchain networks. Then you got nodes, you got apps. Then you got, a lot of log collection engines, and these log collection engines are N-level engines. Now we're not just talking about DAbs and blockchain protocols, logs and all. We are also talking about machine logs, network logs, this, that, and all. It's a big list. And then you got, clusters for several other aspects: sharding, searching, indexing, replicas, whatnot. And then you in the end have, a monitoring platform which has got visual aspect to it, so that you can see what's happening. Because when you don't see, you don't understand. And even if you don't see it in the right fashion, you still don't understand. So that's why visual element. This is why the word invented charts and graphs around, what is happening. This is how we started seeing pizzas in pie charts. So this is the framework you should follow. This is the minimal framework I'm mentioning here. This could be even more complex, more specific to different scenarios and network architectures, network protocols. But this is, a general framework I tried to, put out here. I hope this helps you in some way. But in the end, I'm being consistent, and I'll be consistent at saying that all this should be part of your automation, the blockchain infrastructure automation. That should deliver you all that, maintaining, this complex monitoring framework in the background somehow for you. And all you should see is a beautiful UI giving you monitoring analytics and whatnot. And then a little deeper into onboarding. I talked about the Facebook example. I think that must have eroded the complexity out of it, and it must have been looked pretty simple. Oh yeah, invites have been there for legacies, like since the time of Orkuts and Facebooks and Meta, and every tool has got invites. It's pretty simple stuff. You send the invite, other guy accepts it and all. But how does it works in the decentralized system? It's not as simple as how I said it, and apologies for that. So portability in the infrastructure, its design and deployments. I already talked about multi-cloud coming in. I talked about different permissioning, coming in. Who can be what kind of participant in the blockchain network? What are the governance rules and all? So that's a problem. It's a complexity more than a problem. And then you got strong learning curves, because there are stakes involved. You don't want to participate in a network where you don't know how much cost you would end up paying. It's pretty hard to choose. Should I become a validator in the supply chain consortium? Should I become just an end user, like application user who's just using the business workflows and relying upon others to run the validation for nodes and blocks? Because if you do it wrong, for example, if I'm a distributor on the ground level and I start deciding to set up a validator node with a 24/7 support team sitting behind it, I may be suffering big time just the next week. But I still may have choices of automation. But then again, why do I participate even then? I should be using the mobile app and let the other consortium players manage the network. Ensuring At.he scaling. This is known. I think this is unconditionally said everywhere. You say enterprise, this is the synonym. And then enterprise security support, pretty obvious. And this is one aspect, because when I said you do not want to send cryptographic artifacts of the network, which makes sense to a lot of business value, into an email, just like that, so that somebody else can join. How do you do that? Even when you send invites through Facebook and Meta today, they are very well encrypted. See, value of automation. When you add a user into your cloud, it does a lot of security practices every next time you do it. Same, having no in-place processes to allow customer onboarding. It's not defined. We are like 100 people on the call today, webinar today. We all may have 100 views on how it is to be done. Same happens with compliances and standards. Everybody's got their own standards today in Web3, and that's the most dangerous aspect. And then monitoring alerts, cost optimization for your network. I'm repeating, but this is important again. Now, how do you select a provider? Every time I'm saying a provider, I'm meaning automation provider. Blockchain infrastructure automation provider. This should not be any manual company doing it for you, because that's, they're charging you some extra cost versus the team you could maintain for yourself. That's it. So, you have to make sure that the proposed, automation system is easy to use, and it fits with your needs, whatever you're building. And the first criteria today for blockchain automation system is that they should not be use case focused. They should be use case agnostic. So anytime you would see, I've got a supply chain infrastructure solution for your blockchain networks, it would set up the blockchain smart contracts. No, I suggest never go for that, because that would lock you in big time. Go for solutions which say that we'll set up the nodes and core infra for you. Then you're open to deploy as many smart contracts as you would want on top of it, whichever type of smart contracts you would want on top of it, whichever permissioning you would want to apply on top of it, whatever token economics you would want to run inside it. So that should be the abstraction there. So go for the providers which are at the infra level, not at the blockchain as a service level. And then support for pricing. Mostly one price does not fit all. When I talked about the ROI, I really meant go for the players or the providers who are very sensitive about POC pricing, pilot pricing, and production pricing. POC, pilot, dev pricing should be different, because you're not going to do millions of transactions there. So why do you require so much support assist? You don't require full 99.995% SLA. The machine goes down, the system goes down, the transactions are not happening, they're stuck, you can manage. So you need providers who can give you, this classification of pricing too. The production pricing, the dev or POC pilot pricing, separate. And then security guarantee. Look for people who are certified. Maybe SOC 2, ISO, GDPR, they're compliant. Look for, what kind of practices they've got on security. And don't accept if they say that we do all the standard stuff. Do categorically ask about what's specific to Web3. What kind of security practices do you follow, and would be there on my machine or network when you would deploy it, or I would deploy it through you or through your automation. It's the more it is said, the less still it is, because we know what happens when something is there in a blockchain network which can be either later compromised or taken advantage of by a hacker or some third party you don't want to mess with your network with, who you don't want to mess with your network. You can lose money, real money, if that happens. And then in the end is, what is their previous experience in blockchain infrastructure management? That matters a lot, because the moment I said that we are running 2 years, 40 plus nodes for Vodafone kind of infrastructure without zero downtime, that matters to you. That's what you want to hear every other time you want to talk to a provider. I'm not selling myself here, but I'm telling you the reality. Then I've been talking about what we have done. So I'll tell you about what Zeeve is in a while, what it does, and how is your life with or without Zeeve. So all the automation benefits you've got with Zeeve, you can be as in depth as you would want to be. It would do complete management and optimization of your networks. Manually, if you would do it, life is tough. You would have trouble sleeping. Then we are multi-cloud, so we support multiple clouds. So it caters to all sort of consortium level resources and its management and even the costing. So it's complete flexibility when you would want to use a lesser resource. If I'm doing a pilot or POC, I may want to go to a cloud where the costs are lower, or maybe my consortium partners are even happier. And then you require built-in analytics, which is in there in Zeeve. You get complete logging of your network, round-the-clock monitoring. Wherever manually it's like a 24/7 team, a lot of cost, and still chances of a lot of failures and gaps because humans are error prone. And then automated backup, security aspects, and there's a big list of security elements if I talk about on Z, which we maintain. I think I'll talk about it because a while ago I was tutoring that you should ask your provider that. So in Zeeve, of course we are ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2 and GDPR compliant. We follow all the possible security practices. We got quarterly VAPTs done of the platform. We got automated switchovers. We have active failover policies configured when you deploy a network with Zeeve. We got private subnets and VPC configurations, including multi-cloud VPC peering available. You got multiple availability zones automatically provisioned when you deploy through Zeeve. You got all the default server hardening done onto a machine when you deploy through Zeeve. You got firewall pre-configured for that protocol specifically. You got DDoS protection enabled on each node automatically. You got reverse proxy setup for all the endpoints which you would expose to public through any node at all. You got basic auth and even JWT level token based security configurations on endpoints. Again, endpoints are like those consumable endpoints in your dApps which you are exposing from a node to the outside world. You got all secure key management practices. In fact, we are even planning to take it another level by partnering and building solutions for the trusted execution environment based security key management solutions. You got some frequent, I would not say very frequent, but regular malware and rootkit scans on your nodes. And then there is a lot which we do, but this is just a quick list of what we do when we talk about security. And then when you deploy through Zeeve, a new version comes in next week. Algorand, if you are a follower of, that every next week they release a new version of patch. Polygon does the same. Tron is no exception, and Avalanche is again known for that. Polkadot, no doubts, not similar condition. They release protocol patches, upgrades, and then with Zeeve, you get them onto your network automatically. Be it Fabric, the new version came in, you would know, you would be notified, your solution would be upgraded from the experts without any extra cost. It's the same cost in which you deploy and manage your network with. So you get free from a lot of challenges on updates and upgrades, because that's where every solution breaks. Let alone protocol versions. In the legacy world, we have seen that when even Amazon is so careful, when you deploy through EKS, they consistently notify you that Kubernetes version 1.2 is now there. We are going to upgrade you. We recommend you to upgrade. But then the pain is theirs, not yours. Same way when you deploy through Zeeve, the pain is ours, not yours. And you get high availability, disaster recovery, and distributed node setup. You can set up your consortium in multiple clouds, decentralizing it properly so that it does not go down in one go. There is a lot to talk about here, but these are just some quick high-level points about Zeeve. This is what it achieves you in the end. We support 30 plus blockchain protocols already, all the permission protocols, including Hyperledger Fabric, R3 Coda open source, Avalanche subnets, Polkadot parachains, Polygon Edge. These are all the possible options for an enterprise today to deploy. And then we support all the public protocols as well. And yes, like I said, we are a heterogeneous cloud support platform where you can connect your own cloud accounts, or you can completely use Zeeve Manage. Both the options are there. And if you require on-premise, that's a semi-automatic process as well, because we need to access your machines. And then analytics monitoring is round the clock. You got additional capabilities, which are the whole smart contract lifecycle management through CI/CD pipelines integrated with your network. Those are all inbuilt. And we've been working with, like I did name a few, but we've been working with a lot of enterprises, including Vodafone, GateNet, Energy Web Foundation, DCB Bank, Intel being our customers. And in fact, recently we have started running some nodes for Polkadot as well, the parity technologies themselves. So that reliable we are. Now, if you think Hyperledger Fabric network, POC or development is costly for you, we recently launched a free tier, which means your POC networks and your development environments need to cost you nothing, literally nothing. All you have to give us is your own cloud account. You connect it through Zeeve, and then you are able to deploy a basic Fabric network automatically without any cost. And if you need to, explore more, you can get in touch with us. There is a 24/7 support team. If you want to discuss your architecture, if you want to discuss how you can utilize the free tier, deploy, build upon it further, get in touch. We'll be very happy to talk about more. And we are everywhere. And in fact, next week when Paris Blockchain Week is happening, I'm there with our VP of Growth in UK, Europe, Michael, and one of our lead system engineers, Arjun. So you can grab a cup of coffee with us there, and we discuss blockchain infrastructure, how we can solve your problems. And before I end, I think I'll promise that there is a new series coming for enterprise grade solutions. Again, this was a 7-chapter series. This is over today, and I really thank all of you and all the other participants and people who have taken interest in all these 7 chapters. If you got any questions, put it in the QA. I'll be happy to answer all those. Nothing more dangerous than seeing no open questions when you open the queue in Zoom, and nothing more comforting than that at the same time. So I'll wait a couple more minutes. We got 5 minutes on the clock, so I'll wait 5 more minutes. I'll see if there are any questions, and I would be happy to answer all those questions. I guess no questions. So fantastic, everyone. If you are going to Paris, see you at the Paris Blockchain Week. If you're not coming there, you can get in touch anyways. Just visit zeeve.io, hit the support. There's a question from Satish, I guess. There was a hand and it went down. I think it was an accident. Never mind. If you can open your mic, let me know. I'll turn it on for you. I think the question is in QA now. Ask how crypto wallet companies can integrate your service. So yeah, crypto wallet companies, they usually consume APIs, but then when they grow large, they require high performing nodes. We got a few customers who are exchanges and crypto wallet companies. They're consuming our nodes because our nodes right now on planet Earth are the most performing. And this is not I'm saying this. This is not me saying this. This is said by a lot of public benchmarks. In fact, the Parity team, the Polkadot own team themselves have benchmarked us and found us the best out there in terms of API performance. So you would want to run dedicated node with us, and then if you're running a crypto wallet on top of it, we can ensure that you will get the highest performance on your wallet, the fastest ever. So you simply will have to sign up, deploy some multiple protocol nodes, because wallets are all about multiple protocols, multiple coins, multiple cryptocurrencies. All you need is this API interface, and then you consume the endpoints to build the wallet. So I would suggest that get in touch, write an email, and we'll plan a slot and we'll speak. Yeah. And thank you for asking this question. This is a very relevant one. I guess if there are no more questions, we have to say goodbye, and have a fantastic week ahead, everybody. And I hope I'll come back again, and we'll do another session in future. For all the past recordings, you can find them through YouTube, through GBA, and in case you would require more assist, you can reach out to us as well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.